Well, good morning and welcome to Coffee with the Pastor. We are in Mark chapter 12 and we're in Passion Week, the week that Jesus dies on the cross and is raised from the dead. We're on Tuesday. This is probably, outside of maybe Friday, the busiest day. We've already seen on Tuesday, Jesus has given them a teaching about the withered fig tree on prayer. He's been questioned about his authority. Why do you have authority to kick people out of the temple, who are trying to cheat people through their money changing and selling of animals? And he answers them. He says, well, tell me, John the Baptist, is his baptism from God or not? And they wouldn't answer because they were scared and all. And then he has a second part to his answer on authority, and it begins with chapter 12, verse 1. I want to look at it today. He gives them a parable. And let's just read this parable. It's in chapter 12, verse 1. He then began to speak to them in parables. A man planted a vineyard. He put a wall around it, dug a pit in the winepress, and built a watchtower. Then he rented the vineyard to some farmers and went away on a journey. At harvest time, he sent a servant to the tenants to collect from them some of the fruit of the vineyard. But they seized him, beat him, and sent him away empty-handed. Then he sent another servant to them. They struck this man on the head and treated him shamefully. He sent still another, and that one they killed. He sent many others. Some of them they beat, others they killed. He had one left to send, a son whom he loved. He sent him last of all, saying, they will respect my son. But the tenants said to one another, this is the heir. Come, let us kill him, and an inheritance will be ours. So they took him and killed him and threw him out of the vineyard. What then will the owner of the vineyard do? He will come and kill those tenants and give the vineyard to others. Haven't you read the scripture? The stone the builders rejected has become the capstone. The Lord has done this, and it is marvelous in our eyes. Then they looked for a way to arrest him because they knew he had spoken the parable against them. But they were afraid of the crowd, so they left him and went away. Now remember, who's come to challenge him with his authority? It was the chief priest, it was the teachers of the law, probably some Pharisees, and the elders. They had come to challenge him about what gives you the authority to be doing these things that you're doing. You're teaching, you're cleansing the temple. What gives you the authority? And so he's number one, asked them to say, okay, tell me the authority of John the Baptist, and they wouldn't. So he tells them this parable. He says there's this guy owns some vineyards, builds a watchtower, he gets vineyards in shape, and he rents out to farmers to farm it and to tend it and to share cropping type of thing, that they're to give him so much of their crop each year, and then they can keep the other part. And he goes away, but they don't send their share. So he sends somebody to check on it, to get their share. But instead of them doing what was right and giving the man who owned the property his share, they beat that person, that messenger who came to tell him. And so he sends another, and they beat him, and he sends another, and they kill him. So he sends several, and they either beat them or kill them. And so he decides, well, I'll send my son. They'll certainly listen to my son. So he sends the son, and so they say, well, if we kill him, then there won't be an inheritance, and we'll be able to get this property. And so they kill the son. And then the parable goes that the guy's going to come back, and he's going to deal with them. And he's probably going to kill them, and he's going to give the vineyard to others. And this is a parable directly aimed at the religious teachers. This is what the people of Israel had done. God had given them the law, the Torah. They had not followed it. He sent prophets, and some they beat, tried to kill, like Elijah, Elisha, Isaiah. They did kill, but they never listened to the prophets ever. If you read in the Bible, they just never listened to them. And so he finally sent his son. And Jesus knows that they're going to put him on a cross. And he see the parables against them, and they're not seeing it. They're not seeing that, hey, we're actually working against God, not for God. They thought they were working for God, but what they'd actually done is set up a little system that was good for them. And they'd made God fit into their plans rather than them fitting into God's plans. Them not really caring about the precepts of God, really actually following the Torah. And not being concerned about who is the Messiah. So they knew Jesus was talking about them. And he was talking about taking it away, and it does. They're there in the temple courts about 30 years after Jesus is crucified. Those temple courts are gone. They're destroyed. And it's never been built again. Their way of doing the ministry, their way of doing things is gone. It's not the way God wanted it. And so they're there. But then instead of them getting the message, it just makes them mad, and they start trying to figure out how to kill Jesus all the more. They just say, he's a lost cause. We're not going to be able to do this. We're just going to kill him. And so that's how Tuesday begins. There's several other things, several other teachings on Tuesday, and that happens. And so we'll continue that next week. This is Father's Day, so any fathers listening to me today, I wish you an early happy Father's Day. Hope you get to come to church. I'll be preaching on about John the Baptist. We had mentioned yesterday about how Jesus asked them, was his baptism from God or not? And they wouldn't answer him, because they said if we say that it's from God, then he'll say, why didn't you listen to him? And if we say it's not, then the people are going to probably kill us, because they felt like he was a prophet. And so they didn't answer it. Well, Sunday we're going to look at the actual times when John the Baptist started baptizing. And I personally believe that's when the ordinance of baptism was actually given, was with John the Baptist, and Jesus endorsed it, asked us to keep it going. It's important, and I'll be preaching on that Sunday, as well as recognizing our fathers in the service. So I hope you get to come Sunday, and you have a blessed weekend, and I'll see you Monday. Bye now.